thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you to our members of the panel, where we're going to be talking about finishing strong in District 71. For those who don't know me and didn't endure me speaking during the last breakout room, I'm Steve Campion. I was the previous administration manager for the district, and as a result, I've had the pleasure of working closely with a number of people on this panel over the years. As has already been said, we're joined by past International President Ted Corcoran, District Director Brenda Lannon, Programme Quality Director Elizabeth Jordan, Vice PR Manager Ernold van Beuren, who I almost called a Vice President of PR, Club Growth Director Danny Banks, and our immediate past District Director Gerard Mannix. What I will do is I will ask everyone here in the audience, please, if you can find the chat feature in Zoom, send me a private message throughout this session with any questions that you want to ask of the panel. I've got a number of questions that I've already received, a number of questions that we've already prepared, and I will do my best to distribute them amongst the panelists today. If we don't get to them all, and I suspect we won't get to them all in our limited time, I'll also collate them later and we can share them with the panelists later. Thank you. Before we start, I'd like to ask each person to introduce themselves very briefly. What's your current or most recent role? How long have you been in Toastmasters? Why did you join? And what does finishing strong mean to you? And I'd like to start with Ted Corcoran. Ted.
I'm a short-term member of just 37 years. And Fingal was chartered in 1986, and I've been involved very much up to the time I was the international president. It ended in 2004. Since then, I've been the regional advisor for Region 11 back 10 years ago. Since then, I've just sit in the back and prompt people and make life difficult for them by giving them ideas to carry out. I joined because I made a complete idiot of myself at a function and found later that year the opportunity to join a new club. And I am here ever since. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Ted.
By the way, I want to remind all the Irish people that Steve Campion's ancestors came from Killarney, County Kerry. He might be a Zoom member for you, Gerard.
Thank you very much, Ted. Yes, I feel an affinity for Ted and the team. And I'm delighted to hear that after 37 years, Ted, you no longer make a fool of yourself at functions. That's good to know. Thank you. District Director Brenda, once again, could you just introduce yourself, your role, how long you've been in the district, and why you joined, and what finishing strong means?
Thank you, Steve. I joined Fingal Toastmasters in North County Dublin in April 2010, and I joined the club. Well, I went to my first meeting to find out more about Toastmasters because it was something that my mum had mentioned to me many, many years ago. And why I stayed was because of the warm welcome I received and the great atmosphere of the meetings in Fingal. I'm also a member of Monaghan Toastmasters that chartered in March 2021. What does finishing strong mean? Well, finishing strong means clubs in District 71 achieving at least distinguished status. And we have for our 50th anniversary a challenge, and it's called the 150 for 50 challenge. And it was devised by our past international president, Ted Corcoran. In 2021-22, District 71 had 100 distinguished clubs. And Ted thought, why don't we aim to have 150 clubs as a multiple of 50? So 50 by 2 is 100. So maybe we can aim towards the 50 by 3, 150 clubs distinguished by the end of June 2023. So that's what finishing strong means to me, Steve.
Thank you very much, Brenda. And I love the idea as well. I know it's been promoted before of the 150 for 50 challenge. It's great to see everyone moving towards that. I'm going to move to Elizabeth Jordan, Programme Quality Director. If you could share with us a little about your role, your history in Toastmasters, and for you, what does finishing strong mean?
Thank you, Mr. Facilitator, DTM Steve. Delighted to tell you I've been in Toastmasters for 12 years. I joined because my work, first as a scientist and then later in different roles for a Fortune 500 company, required a lot of being called into meetings on the fly to speak, and that didn't work for me at all. I think table topics is what I helped a lot. Evaluations is why I stayed, because I think that is, to me, the most central thing about Toastmasters. Finishing strong, there are three things. The district director's already mentioned it. 150 for 50, if we can get 150 of our clubs distinguished. Better still, if we can get all our clubs distinguished, that would be even better, but 150 will do. I think we have a conference coming up, which you'll hear more about in a moment later. I think if we can have ourselves the most amazing conference, we haven't met for 3 years face to face, but we're going to have a hybrid conference in Liverpool and make this utterly sensational. And then beyond that, there's the international convention in August, and having been to Nashville last year and saw people walking up on the stage to collect that distinguished, prize, I think I would like to be in the team that literally stands up out of my seat, walk up on that stage with great pride, and actually bring that home to District 71 in its 50th year. So that, to me, those are the three big things that to me, finishing strong in District 71, that's what it means to me. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And giving three answers, I mean, clearly you're a Toastmaster. Just has to be. Can we move on now, please, to Ernold van Beuren? If you could introduce yourself, your role, your history in Toastmasters, and what finishing strong means.
Yes, so I started my Toastmaster journey in 2018, and I started because I wasn't confident enough to speak in front of people. As a business owner, it's really crucial to speak to your audience, to your staff members. As well as now the PRM, and this is a little bit of what happens within the Toastmaster journey. Is I not only became more confident with the public speaking, but I also said yes to opportunities. And what happened is I always wanted to be an area director, never got the opportunity. But what I did was say yes to become the public relation manager for the district. And I'm absolutely happy to serve you all as a public relation manager. So what will be and strong, let's say the strong thing to end is that we all become one, working together. And we are all Toastmasters. There is no competition, but only love and support. And I want to see end of the Toastmaster here that we all hold our hands together and keep this District 71 very, very strong. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Ernold. And I'm delighted to hear that you said you wanted to be an area director. In a conversation that we were in earlier in one of the breakout rooms, we touched on the topic of area directors and division directors and how those roles are so rewarding. I mean, they're not easy, but they're extremely rewarding. And stand again, Ernold. And I would encourage everyone to stand for that. I personally benefited from it a great deal. Could we now hear from Danny Banks? Danny, could you talk to us a little about your role, your history, and what finishing strong means to you?
Thank you, Mr. MC. Yes, I joined Toastmasters in 2015. The reason I joined is because I was retiring, and I'd just like to stress it was early retirement before anybody thinks any different, because I wanted something to do. So that's why I joined Toastmasters, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it ever since and done various roles. My aim for the end of the year is that we increase the number of members we have, increase the number of clubs, because that means we share more of what Toastmasters has to give to people with a greater audience, and also to create a pipeline of clubs for next year. So that's finishing strong for me, Mr. MC.
Thank you very much, Danny. And I do like how you describe the value of that growth is not just because of the growth in the organization, it's because it gives people more opportunity to experience Toastmasters and the benefits it brings. Thank you. And Gerard Mannix, please, if I could ask you, please explain your current or most recent role, your history in Toastmasters, and what finishing strong means for you.
Good afternoon. It is afternoon, yes, yeah. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you very much, Mr. MC Steve. I am 13 years in Toastmasters, so I'm possibly the second longest around, with my granddad from Killarney, and then my dad from Killarney also, Steve. So I have a lot of relations around here, not alone. 13 years, so that's great. A lot of different roles in Toastmasters, which were most fulfilling and most enjoyable. My wish for this year is that each club has a guest greeter, that we treat the member in a good fashion, because 'tis by there we build clubs, we build continuity, we build friendship, we build loyalty, and we educate people. To have the guest greeter, they introduce them to the Sergeant at Arms, and then the whole story builds within the room, and that the room is of a quality layout. What I want each club is to review their situation and see, do they mark up to the mark that is a good mark and a good quality? And then I can really say each club will see rejuvenation within both the members that are existing, and they will be attracting new members also. I wish District 71 all the best for 2022-23. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gerard. And I can also personally agree with you on the importance of all members having a great experience and getting started well. I have a few questions now for our panelists, and I'm conscious of time. I'm not going to be able to cover everything with everyone, but I will do my best. I'd like to start, first of all, with you, Ted. I often think of you as the father of the Distinguished Club program. You've shared the story of its birth and generation with us in the past. And in a meeting that we were recently in, we were talking about the Club Success Plan and the Distinguished Club program. I know you have another phrase for DCP and what DCP means. Can you share with us why that's important and what the relevance of DCP is for us in the future?
I can do that. It's an important question. When our clubs, every club gets a charter, it's a franchise to deliver what Toastmasters advertises, which is speaking and listening and leadership. And how is it measured? It's measured by the Distinguished Club Plan. And when a club achieves that, they have delivered on the franchise, the contract they entered into when they chartered their club. And last year, 100 clubs were distinguished, and I congratulate every one of those for the marvelous work they did in trying circumstances. But that left 113 who weren't. So we have a gap to fill. And coming then to DCP and the other meaning for it, I got this from my friend and former president, Margaret Page. She called it documented changes in people. Because I hear so often about DCP points as if it was a tick in the box. The DCP is a goal. And every time a speaker completes something, it's achieving a goal. And to do that, they've had to change, because Toastmasters changes us all gradually. We don't see it happening, but if you look back over the years, you'll find that you have changed. So it documents changes in people, and that's a very good thing. And it's not point scoring, it's recording members' goals that they have achieved. The phrase is documented changes in people. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Ted. And I love that as a description. I didn't realize it was Margaret Page's. I love it as a description because it is about what we are aiming to do in our clubs, is to help people develop. That actually,
Sorry, Steve.
Gerard, You've
Steve,
set
sorry,
me.
can I just say to you, the chat is disabled.
Oh, I thought it should be hosts only. You should be able to select me as a name. If you can't, okay, let me change that. Thank you.
We can't.
Oh, could you try again, please? Thank you. If you've been trying to send me messages, apologies. Please do try again. Ted set me up quite nicely actually for another question that I had, and this one's for you, Gerard. We've been talking about so much change, and Ted talked about the organization changing. You were division director really at the height of COVID. It wasn't what you were expecting the year to be. What surprised you the most about how our clubs and members rose to those challenges? Ted?
I unmuted again. Steve, I was program quality director that time in 2020.
Oh, apologies.
That's okay. Yeah.
Can you answer the question anyway?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm skipping forward 2 years or 3 years or whatever. But anyway, I was program quality director at that stage, and also organizing the district conference in Killarney in May. And out of the blues, we knew it was generating itself, that COVID was about, etc., from the United Kingdom, China, and other places like that, January, February, March. And March, April, it hit our country. And then we had to close down and cancel the conference in Killarney. So then we had to organize semi-finals in all the disciplines of the contest, and then 4 finals. So that had all to be done online. And then we had to transfer the conference from being in person to being online. And I must really, really, really thank those who in the initial stages of that helped so much. I'd say that I counted about 10 or 12 days when I got 3 hours sleep during the night, organizing many of those events. But many of those that I said goodbye to at 4 o'clock were back again at 7 o'clock in the morning, would you believe it? You know, like, and I don't know how they actually really went through the whole thing. These volunteering. I think that's one thing that Toastmasters really shows up, that if you wanted a spin from Killarney to Malin Head, there'd be a Toastmaster that would take you there without a drop of a hat, you know, and that's coming from the south of Ireland right up to the top. So that Toastmasters is a very flexible and teaches us how to change our ways in life. And then it went into June and May, well, May and June prior to it. And my goodness, I felt I was taking on the realm of being district director, and so proceeded from the district council meeting. And I think the one thing that was a principal thing was to keep each member of roughly of our 4,500 members safe at all meetings during the COVID epidemic.
Thank you.
And thankfully, we had no deaths and no loss of life during all that period of time. And I say really with pride that was achieved, and I was happy for that. But with regard to that, and with regard to quality of achievement, etc., you know, Toastmasters realms in many ways of achievement. I think the in-person growth that people have with regard to speech projection and different aspects of life, it is just wonderful. Yeah. So I'm going to conclude.
Thank you, Gerard. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's great to hear how Toastmasters do step up and support each other. Matty, thank you for the timing signal. I'm conscious that we've got very, very little time left. So I've got, can I do 2 questions? I'm going to try 2 questions very, very quickly. One of the questions I've got for anyone who wishes to raise their hands is, how do we encourage people to volunteer and gain the benefits of being a club officer or a district officer specifically? What's the best way of encouraging people to understand the benefits of that? Elizabeth, I see you've gone off mute, so could you tackle that?
Yes, I'm delighted to tackle that because I feel passionately about it. this is a volunteer organization, and it's about all hands on deck. Although we have the DLT who are there at you elected us to do a role. We've got a strategy, we're steering the ship, but we can't do it without your help. And one example I'm just going to give, because it's very, very imminent, is that the conference is going to be next May, 26th to 28th. There are lots and lots of jobs to be done at the conference. This is only going to be mega successful if people put their hands up and volunteer, and there are lots of activities to do. So I put in a plug-in, but my key point is that the stronger we are as a team, the more everyone steps up and help, be it at area director, be it at division director, the more we are going to succeed as a division. That's a simple equation. Stick together, hands on deck. That's how we're going to win. Back to you, Mr. Facilitator.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And actually, could I ask Danny to address that same topic, and then Brenda, and we may then be short on time.
Yeah, Mr. MC, I agree with what Elizabeth said, but I think we also need to show people how useful it is to be an area director and a division director for their own lives, because you can pick up so many skills. You can develop communication skills, management skills, project management skills, all these things in an area director role and a division director role. And I think we really need to show that we do, if we're into personal development, which is what Toastmasters is about, and we work in an industry where we need those skills, it's a fantastic place to develop those skills. I always say to students who might want to be Toastmasters, you know, when they come to write the difficult bit on the application form, what experience have you got in project management or whatever? You know, rather than just being able to say, oh, well, I collected the money for the Christmas do and took it down to the hotel, they can say, well, I was VP membership, I organized people, I've got good interpersonal skills because I've talked with guests. And I really think that we need to be stressing those skills that people can develop in those roles, because they are totally transferable to work life in most areas of work, and it will benefit them. Mr. MC.
Thank you very much.